And 8:44 a.m. here in Superior, Wisconsin. I am your host, Jared Rennie Jr., joined by, as always, my best friend.
Dale Summerfield Jr.
And Dale, let's get this show on the road. Let's talk a little baseball. We do that every week. You know how it is. The Phillies, the Brewers, the Twins. We will do a little thought of the week talking. We talked about this last week. 10 trades that didn't go through. Talk about how they would have changed the landscape of baseball. And then close the show out with an album review as we always do. So, MLB reviews. I'll kick us off here at the Phillies as has become the usual. Since we last spoke, the Phillies officially won the series with the Diamondbacks. Yes, I jumped the gun last week saying they had won the series. They then headed to Oakland for 3 before heading home for 3 with Atlanta. So how about the series in Oakland? Well, the Phillies swept the A's, who were coming into that series 7-2 in their last 9. Friday it was a 6-1 victory. Saturday 3-2 in 12, and then Sunday 3-2 again. This time in 9. Then it was time to head home for the Braves, and despite having 2 games planned before today, we only got 1 played as yesterday was postponed till September 11th on a rain delay. The opener was shit as the Phillies dropped the ball, losing 2-4. Good news: the Phillies are 38-35 and over 500, while being 7-3 in their last 10. Dale, you got good news for us with the Brewers?
Somewhat. Last we spoke, I was really mad with the Milwaukee Brewers, and then look what happens. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they sweep the Pittsburgh Pirates to take sole possession of first place. However, that wouldn't last as they faced the red hot and NL West leading Arizona Diamondbacks. As the Diamondbacks came into town and took 2 out of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers winning the mid game 7-5 after being down 4-0. So overall, not a great start to the week for the Brewers, and as Brewer fans would hope, but we're looking forward to it. We face Cleveland tomorrow in Cleveland, and I know Cleveland hasn't been that great this year. So yeah, looking forward to playing Cleveland, and I'm unsure how to feel about the NL Central standings right now. Like the Cincinnati Reds went from being in 4th place at the end of May to sitting a game and a half up on the Milwaukee Brewers, going 10-0 and having an 11-game winning streak. So I'm not sure how to feel with the Brewers because they are 38-36, still playing some relatively good baseball right now, but I'm a little worried on how much the Reds can go on that streak for. But overall, I'm satisfied. Burns got kind of ruffled up that first game, but again, Julio Teheran, that man, since he's got signed by the Brewers, I'm going to hype him up any chance I can get. That man was a great signing by the Brewers. It always seems they find the minor leaguers and turn them back into major league superstars. So it's great to see.
Super. Slow your roll. Slow your roll. Uh, all right. So we have one first place ball club left to talk about, and I don't know how long they're going to be in first place. For the first time, I think on the show, I'm actually wearing twin stuff. Usually, I'm wearing Phillies hat or something. So good for the Twins. Good for the Twins. Finally getting a little representation. The Twins are 4-6 in their last 10, folks. Yeah. Um, you serious? The Twinkies had 4 with the Tigers and 4 with the Red Sox with the close today at 12-10. The Tiger series started rough. 4-8 loss, 1-7 loss in the first 2. They would take the third, 2-0, but it wasn't enough as Detroit got the closer and the series 4-6. Well, the Red Sox series wasn't better if you were hoping for that. The first 2, 3-9, 4-10. Good news, a 5-4 W last night in 10 in extras. The Twins seem to need to go to extras to get the wins lately. Um, yeah, I don't know. They're not failing to score. They're just giving up way too many runs. Yeah. So hopefully they grab a split this afternoon, and we have better news next week for the Twins. The Twins are just under 500 at 37 and 38 right now, yet hold a one-game lead over Cleveland in the Central. While we do our look in at the East, it reads straight in the line as the entire East leads the Central, with the Twins hoping to pull out within a half a game today as they close the series with the Red Sox. Red Sox leading by one game in the standings. Wait, so they would no, they'd actually, because they're playing the Red Sox, tie them. No, they wouldn't. They're 1.5. They're 1.5 up. They're one and a
Yeah.
half up, folks.
So the Twins are currently sitting fifth in the AL East.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
Cleveland 6, Detroit 6. You guys get on
Yeah.
the boat.
What I just can't believe though is I just can't believe I'm looking at just all the standings. Who would have thought Arizona and San Francisco would be 1-2, LA 3, San Diego 4?
Well, San Diego, extremely overrated in my opinion. I played those folks in the playoffs. If you folks are tuning in for the first time, a Phillies fan, so we played those. Those West Coasters in the playoffs last year. Wasn't even a fight. We sent them
Quick
home
question.
packing.
Well, quick question for you as a Twins fan, from one Twins fan to the next. Would Luis Urias still be hitting 400 like that? Did the Marlins finally win this trade? Like, are they the
Oh yeah.
victors? Yep. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, I think the Twins made the biggest, dumbest decision they probably could have made in 10 years.
See, the funny thing is I was trying to convince Twins fans when they made the trade that Pablo Lopez was a fair price for Luis Urias, because I thought, well, Pablo Lopez 3-starter in Miami's rotation, but Miami's got all these young guns, the reigning Cy Young winner Sandy Alcantara. I was like, 3-starter in Miami, that ain't saying much. I'm trying to convince people, and now it's the opposite where I'm like, no, Pablo Lopez fucking sucks, and you traded the
Yeah.
guy that's in 400.
And Luis Urias, say if he's still hitting 400 and he's in Minnesota, ticket sales would just sell out. Like,
Yeah, the biggest
damn it.
problem with the Twins is their pitching, and they didn't get a good pitcher for Luis Urias. So
See, if Luis Urias was hitting, say, like 395 last year and he was on pace and he's doing it this year, I think I would have said, if you want Luis Urias, you give us Sandy Alcantara or one of your other. I can't think of the two guys. It Jesus Luzardo. Is
yeah,
he the
Jesus Luzardo, Sixto Sanchez there. I mean, they have a stacked rotation.
yeah, young rotation too.
Yeah,
So
pitching a little
that
rough this year though.
that Jeter rebuild though was no joke. We all thought like what the heck's he doing, but turned
Yeah,
out just fine.
they're gonna take the Mets spot this year. It's
I
gonna be the
think so.
Braves, the Marlins, and the Phillies.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't. Bad trade. That's for sure. Rough, stupid trade. With that, I think that concludes baseball. I think
Yep.
with that we can move along to the um thought of the week.
Yeah.
That is Dale's big segment. That I don't know. You can kind of introduce it, and then we'll go to an ad break, and we'll dive into it off the back of the ad break.
Yeah. So thought of the week this week, for those who don't know, Twitch, I kind of wanted to create something that was fun, energetic. And I'm like, oh, we could do thoughts on random things, but I realized we couldn't think of random things. So we're going to do it on stuff we enjoy, most likely baseball or football or depending on what season it is. But no, thought of the week this week is a couple blockbuster deals that almost happened, whether that is a trade with a team or a free agent signed with the team and he didn't pass his physical or he somehow signed with a different team. Stuff like that. Like I think the one year the Twitter happened where it was like uh one major guy I think was going to sign with the Twins, but he ends up backing out and signing with like the Carlos Correa, I guess, in an instance. Like should have been a Giant. Then I think should have been a Met. I think it was, and then he went back to the Twins. So yeah, so stuff like that. So we'll go to a quick ad break, and then when we come back, I'll list some, and then we'll talk about them.
Okay, we'll be right back, folks. Have you ever wanted Phil's Nation merchandise? Head over to tpublic.com/Dogs Maniac today.
All right.
And we are back, folks, here live. YouTube, Dogs Maniac Entertainment. Time to talk about the Junior and Junior Thought of the Week, presented by Dale Summerfield Jr. All right, Dale, so what kind of trades we looking at?
Trades, but here's the first one. This is actually a signing. Okay,
Oh,
this is
okay.
1954. This is from MLB.com. Before he ultimately became a legend with the Pirates, Roberto Clemente actually signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers in the 1954, only to be taken by Pittsburgh in the Rule 5 draft that winter. The rest is history. But even before the Dodgers signed him, the Giants were after him. And Brooklyn surely shuddering at the thoughts of Clemente joining Mays in the outfield for outbid New York for Clemente before letting him get away. It seemed like Clemente would have signed with the Giants if the Dodgers had not swooped in. He reportedly wanted to play in New York because he had relatives there within the larger Puerto Rican community. So,
Okay.
had he either have not been swooped in by either the Dodgers or had the Pirates not taken him in the Rule 5 draft, Roberto Clemente would have been ultimately a New York Giant, and I feel that would have changed numerous outcomes, possibly a little more World Series for the Giants. Um, Maybe the outcome of the Bobby Thompson hit in that pennant for the Giants, because I think that was only a year later. So I totally forgot that this happened. I knew that I knew he got taken by the Dodgers, but I never knew the Giants were after him or wanted to sign him.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, that's interesting. That is. Yeah. That I mean that could have crazy implications and like it says, can you imagine an outfield of Clemente and Willie Mays?
Yeah. The Giants I don't think would ever leave San Francisco.
You don't think they'd ever go to San Francisco?
I don't think so.
Ooh, that.
Because I think Mays and Clemente would have such a huge impact.
So when did they say? When did they want to
54 he
sign?
almost signed with the Giants.
When?
54.
50. So only so many years until they were in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like was the process already there? Were that I wasn't around in the '50s, so I don't know. Was the seedlings already there that San Francisco was beginning a team? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know if the yeah, I don't know if it was already around because trying to think. So who was it? It was Brooklyn, the
Yeah.
Dodgers, the Yankees, the Giants. I think were the three. So
Yep.
whether that meant the Yankees, I don't think would have moved due to their success.
No.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can only see the Dodgers. I don't, me personally, I don't think they moved. They might have, but they might have moved after Clemente would have left.
Yeah. Because like I don't know that. Yeah, that's kind of a thing to get into. You'd have to know the circumstances. Was the move because of Polo Grounds? I don't.
Yeah, but and then here's the next one. Speaking of Giants Dodgers, remember this one. December 13th, 1956. Jackie Robinson gets dealt to the New York Giants and then ultimately retires. It said Robinson, 10 years with the Dodgers, was traded baseball civil rights pioneer, was traded to the Giants in exchange for a pitcher Dick Littlefield and $30,000 cash. But within hours, Robinson decided to retire rather than accept the trade.
Huh. Imagine those all together.
Which makes me question. So at 19, well, on December 1956, so if it was 10 years, trying to think what year, I'm trying to think what year Robinson would have been at that age.
Yeah, he would because he had been playing quite some time with the Dodgers. You know, um, yeah, he would have been an older chap at the time.
He would have been 56, 37.
Yeah, so I mean he's in the back half of his well, not back half, the back
But
end
say,
of his career.
say if he does play for 2 years, though, or 3 years, there would still be Roberto Clemente, Willie Mays.
Yeah, that's a insane lineup. Like
We
if those two both happened in the same universe, that is.
See, I think that even tops the DiMaggio Williams, because I'm
Oh yeah,
yeah.
those three together, and yeah, I think that tops DiMaggio Williams. Oh yeah.
And then the next one, talk about a blockbuster. What if? Don Mattingly, the Yankees almost traded him to the Giants. Ironically, again, the Giants seem to
Yeah.
always get unsuccessful with these trades and signings. I feel bad for the Giants, man. We've seen
Yeah.
it with Arson Judge,
Correa. Yeah, I mean, what the
Correa.
hell?
Yeah,
Why are
I
the Giants on here?
feel bad for you Giants fans, but it says that Maryland was told during the World Series by sources outside the Yankees owner George Steinbrenner that he had made a deal with the Giants that would have sent Don Mattingly and pitcher Rick Rodine to San Francisco for first baseman Will Clark and pitchers Athlete Hammaker and Craig Lefterts.
Wow. Can you imagine
The
that?
Giants have backed off training the two left-handed pitchers when they learned that another San Francisco southpaw, Dave Javecki, had a tumor on his pitching arm.
Wow. That.
So I had Dave Javecki not have a tumor on his pitching arm. Don Manley probably would have been a San Francisco Giant.
Yeah. Man, the captain before Jeter. Imagine that going to San Francisco.
Do
I,
I have? Huh?
I'm just stunned by that one. That's crazy.
Yeah. Do I have to say the next one, or should we know what teams are involved?
Are the Giants involved in this?
Yes.
Are you sure that you're not reading the list of the top 10 moves that the Giants lost out on?
Guaranteed. The Yankees almost traded Ricky Henderson to the Giants in '89.
I'm sorry, Giants. I'm sorry.
Let me
The,
find a different one. I'll find a different.
no, I mean it's fine. But imagine Ricky Henderson on the Giants now. Ooh, oh boy.
Yeah, I, I don't know.
Do the Giants end their World Series drought earlier with Ricky Henderson?
And I believe that's the year. Wasn't the '89 the one between the Giants and the Athletics?
Ooh, it may have been.
Or whatever one, because I know Henderson, I think the year after, we signed with the A's again, I think.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean that.
But
That could have changed their luck.
but here's one that hits close to home for me. Zach Greinke gets dealt to the Nationals instead of the Milwaukee Brewers. So it sounds like Zach Greinke, the Royals tried to get some return for him by offering him to the Nationals for names like Drew Storer, Danny Espinosa, and Jordan Zimmerman. But Grady himself nixed the trade, not wanting to go to Washington. But it ends out they end up trading him to the Brewers for Lorenzo Cain, Alcides Escobar, and a couple other names in that deal, which ultimately, through the Zach Greinke trade, through a Gene Segura trade, through another trade, the Brewers ultimately ended up getting Christian Yelich. So I feel had that not happened, had Greinke went to the Nationals, Brewers most likely would have not gotten Christian Yelich.
Okay. Now, no offense, Dale, but I think there might be a bigger thing to talk about, and is not the Brewers getting Christian Yelich. Without going out and getting Lorenzo Cain,
Yeah,
all this, do the Royals win the 2015 World Series?
probably. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's my
Yeah.
bad. I'm sorry, Royals fan. I do not think so because they wouldn't have Kane. They wouldn't have Escobar. They wouldn't have. I'm trying to think who else was a part of that deal. I think
And
Odorizzi was a part of that deal. I think they.
yeah, when you look at what they were saying they were going to get from the Nationals for him, Jordan Zimmerman's the only name that really sticks out there as had some good years. I don't.
Yeah, and by good years, it was like 2, 3 years.
Yeah, so like that, it seems like Greinke nixing that deal and not wanting to go play in a big city like DC
Mm-hmm.
ultimately leads to the Royals winning the World Series. And no offense to Christian Yelich, but I would much rather have the World Series than Christian Yelich.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's one for you. Philly fans should send a thank you note to JP Riccardi. In early 2005, the Toronto Blue Jays were given an offer from the Philadelphia Phillies to send over rookie first baseman Ryan Howard in exchange for Ted Lilly. Riccardi refused, saying that had Lilly signed for another year and they were confident he'd stay longer and be a cornerstone for a young team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Howard, I mean, his career was relatively short, I think is fair to say. In the grand scheme of things, I think he had a lot of ball left in him at the end, but yeah, obviously blows out his Achilles and everything in the playoffs, running to first base, and absolute dog contract. And he gets shipped out. But he was huge for the Phillies, an MVP, 50 home run season. He was a big part of that '08 World Series team. Do they win without him? Ultimately, probably yes. But no, yeah, good thing they did not trade Ryan Howard because no, not interested.
I got two more for you if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
I got one. I got Jose Pujols.
Okay.
would have would have been traded to the Montreal Expos. In December 2000, the Cardinals traded third baseman Fernando Tatis Sr. and reliever Britt Weems to Montreal for relievers Dustin Hermanson and Steve Klein. According to reports, the Expos came quite close to taking Pujols instead of Tatis, but decided to go with a more experienced man.
Yeah. Who? Now imagine Pujols gets traded to Montreal. How long does Montreal hold on to him? Does he save Montreal from relocation? It's a good question because you look at the stars Montreal had, and a lot of times they got cheap and tried to send those guys off for prospects.
Gary Carter, Tim Raines, yeah,
Pedro Martinez,
mm-hmm.
Bartolo Colon.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
hope it.
yeah. And talking about cheap, though, I'll throw two more in here because it kind of ties in with the last one you just said. Pedro Martinez to Cleveland for Jared Wright and Bartolo Colon.
Yep.
Right after in 1997, they were smarting after losing the World Series to the Marlins and wanting to spark things up. So they had agreed to a deal with the Expos to trade pitchers Jared Wright, who I thought might have been a hero in Game 7 for Cleveland. Like, that dude pitched the game of his life. Like, hats off to Jared Wright. Like,
Yeah.
I feel bad for Nagy, though, for the end of that game. But and the Mr. Met himself, Bartolo Colon, for NL Cy Young winner Pedro Martinez. So it would have been another Expo deal. Talking about the cheapness. Um, so here's my thought. I wonder how good Jarrett Wright or Bartolo Colon would have been in Montreal. But say if Montreal would have held on to Pedro and Albert Pujols was there, what that team might have looked like.
Yeah. That. Wow. Yeah, I know. Imagine a Pujols Pedro team. It almost could have been like Pedro and Ortiz in Boston. Uh, that would have been crazy. But it's so weird to think like they almost traded Bartolo Colon for and obviously, plus, but for
Yeah.
Pedro Martinez. And then they end up trading Bartolo Colon to Montreal anyway.
Yeah. Exactly.
You remember what they got for Bartolo Colon when he went to?
I can't remember what they gave up, but I know. Was it, you said Cleveland?
Yeah,
Was it Larry
Cleveland's.
Walker?
Let's
I
see if
will.
I.
Um,
Let's see. I'll try and figure out here what it was. In return for Colon and Tim Drew, the Indians received from the Expos Cliff Lee, Grady Sizemore, and Brandon Phillips,
yeah.
along with veteran first baseman Lee Stevens.
And
Whoa!
I think
So
Grady Sizemore ended up being a big name for Cleveland in the early 2000s. Brandon Phillips, ended up playing a lot of time with the Reds.
I I think Cleveland made out better in that trade. I'm gonna be
I
honest.
I agree, but it said I read it. It said 2002 the trade was done, right,
Yeah,
for Bartolo. Trying to think, was Pedro then still there in 2002 in Montreal, or
I think he was in Boston by that time. I want to say he had quite a few killer seasons for Boston before '04.
94 to 97? So he would have been dealt that off season, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
that's because Pedro Martinez, absolute legend.
Yeah.
Amazing pitcher. Don't get me wrong. But Cliff Lee, amazing pitcher. Had some great years for Cleveland. Grady Sizemore is a Cleveland legend. I want to say it. No, I'm going to say it because this is what they were when he played. If anybody wants to get offended, boo hoo, don't want to hear. Grady Sizemore, an Indians legend. That's what they were his entire career there. So don't shoot the messenger. But he was a legend for those 2000s, early 2010s Indian teams. Cleveland teams. Guardian. I'm not calling them the Guardians because they're not the Guardians. Absolute legend for the city of Cleveland is Grady Sizemore. Not LeBron James legend levels, but like when you think Cleveland baseball, you think Grady Sizemore.
Oh yeah, 1000%. Probably might be one of the best players that I don't know will ever make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that very fair. Probably not a Hall of Famer, but Hall of very good.
Yeah, like he'll probably be one of the top 50 Cleveland Indians or Guardians of all time.
Yeah. That, and then you know, if you want to get into it, everything they got for Cliff Lee and Brandon Phillips and all the trades they made off of that, you know that just sweetens the pot on what they got there. But yeah, what that is crazy to think, because now if you break that down, Bartolo for Pedro, and then they ended up trading him for that haul, and it's weird to say that a haul that it could have been Pedro Martinez was actually better without him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 1000%. Like yeah, that's just crazy to think about. Like I think both teams got like Pedro and Cleveland both got the best deals out of it.
Yeah. Pedro gets to go to Boston, breaks the curse of the Bambino.
Uh-huh. Is loved
Absolute,
there for years.
yeah, absolute legend in the city of Boston still. Just, that's one where it worked out for both sides, it not happening. Pedro gets the best deal by going to Boston. They get the best deal trading Bartolo Colon to Montreal anyway.
Yeah.
And then Montreal loses because, well, hello, DC.
Where was it? I almost lost it. I'll go back here. Apologies about that. I just had it and it just disappeared from me.
I'll just riff. I'll kill some time.
Found it.
Oh, you found it.
The last one was in 2007. The Marlins almost traded Miguel Cabrera to the Los Angeles Angels. Miguel Cabrera, Vladimir Guerrero Sr., the same lineup. Would they have gotten Mike Trout? Would they have gotten Albert Pujols?
They would get Mike Trout.
Huh?
They would get Mike Trout.
They would.
Because they got him with the Yankees pick.
Yeah.
Yep. So they probably still get him. I'm guessing everything still plays out the same in that way.
But picture this. Vlad Guerrero. I can't remember what year Vlad Guerrero retired.
So who was going to Miami? Do we know that or?
I can look. Yeah, it sounds like deal might have gotten done at the Angels were willing to part with some pitching prospects. It says per Jalen Stark. This is MLB.com. The Halos threw in Irvin Santana, former Twin Irvin Santana, Joe Saunders, or the late Nick Adenhart. Or no. Nick Adenhart. I believe he passed. Yeah, yep, he passed away, I think. The late Nick Adenhart, in addition to agreed upon players in the deal. Cabrera in the deal. Howie Kendricks and in addition to agreed upon players in the deal already. Howie Kendricks and Jeff Matthias. Cabrera may have very well have wound up in Anaheim over Detroit.
Wow. So I mean that doesn't sound like too bad of a deal for Miami. If they would have got Irvin Santana and all that honestly sounds like a pretty killer deal.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to look here to see what year Vlad Guerrero.
And Do
So he
we?
was an Angel from '04 to '09. So he would have left like right after Trout or right before Trout would have been there.
So they probably could have walked from Vlad Senior and Cabrera into a lineup of Cabrera and Trout.
Yes. And to think about it, uh, so Pujols played for the Angels from 12 to 21. So there was a time, I believe, if this would have been your lineup: Miguel Cabrera, Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, but do they get Pujols if they have Cabrera?
That's what I don't know because they're both first basemen. So I wonder though.
Unless Cabrera stays at third in this universe, but he makes
But
the
remember, there's
transition to
always a
first.
DH too, though, in the AL.
Yeah, you could DH. There's also the time they had Josh Hamilton. They really, when they got Pujols, that window, they really tried to go in, but the signings just didn't work.
So Angels 2012 roster. Let's take a look to see what players they had. Because I'm just curious. So they would have had Albert Pujols in 2012, Mike Trout, Vernon Wells, Kendrys Morales, Mark Trumbo, Howie Kendrick. So Howie Kendrick would have been gone. Swap him out. So looking, yeah, Irvin Santana, pitcher, Jared Weaver, Zach Greinke,
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
um, my man Jason Inglenhausen from the A's. That's uh Brad Mills, LaTroy Hawkins,
Troy Hawkins,
like
killer.
yeah, Jared Weaver, Garrett Richards.
They had a good team. Like the fact that they failed with that team.
And they finished third in the NL West.
Yeah, how do you finish third in the division with that team?
Oh,
How good were the teams ahead of them? Is the because like you have that roster and you finish third.
yeah,
But
and then the next year, 2013, you finished 78 and 84, and you finished third in there. And you had Mark Trumbo, Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Josh Hamilton. So had you had Miguel Cabrera, you would have had Josh Hamilton, Mike Trout, Miguel Cabrera, probably not Albert Pujols.
and they still probably fail.
Yeah, because you had Joe Blanton, C.J. Wilson, Jared Weaver. Because that was the time that I believe uh, Irvin Santana left, was 2013. So I'm just looking at. I just think it's crazy. Like, okay, 2014 LA Angels finished 98 and 64. They lost in the division series 3-0 to the Royals. The year the Royals played the Giants in the World Series. So it was Chris Arnetta, Albert Pujols, Howie Kendricks, Eric Abar, David Freese, Josh Hamilton, Mike Trout, Cole Calhoun, C.J. Cron. So if you throw out Pujols, who hit 272 with 28 home runs, and you throw him out with Miguel Cabrera, who in 2000 and what did I say, 14,
Yeah,
hit 25 home runs and a 313 batting average with a 137 RBI. Wait, yeah, with 109 RBIs.
coming off the back of a triple crown.
Yep. Where back to back years where he hit 44 home runs and 130 plus RBIs.
Yeah, absolute monster at that time.
Then the year after, he lowered both his home run and his RBI, but hit 338. Dude's a career 307 hitter. So had you got him on 07, it would have been the '08 year. He would have hit you 37 bombs, 127 RBIs, and a 292 average. He would have hit you 37, 34, 38, 30, 44, 44, and 25 within a almost 8-year span.
And And we do have to factor this in. Detroit is not a hitter-friendly ballpark
No,
at all.
no.
Far from it.
I think Anaheim's more of a hitter-friendly ballpark. That's how Pujols got all his bombs out over there because it was such a hitter-friendly ballpark. If you think those numbers could add up, Miggy could very well have all time like be where Pujols is. Say if he signs with Detroit or if he goes somewhere else that's not a hitter friendly ballpark, we could be sitting here today talking about how Miguel Cabrera is sitting at 703 career home runs while Albert Pujols is trying to finish his career this year with 695 or whatever he's at.
They say Anaheim is the 8th most hitter-friendly ballpark.
So eighth most hitter friendly in 14 he the year that he would have had the 25 bombs, he hit 52 doubles, which led the league. How many of those doubles would have cleared the wall if they were actually like fly balls that would have went over the heads?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see his home splits. You know, what was he doing in Detroit at Comerica? And think about how many more of those don't get stuck in that triple alley out there or something. And
yeah,
Miguel Cabrera probably hits at least 50 home runs more, I would say, in his career.
And I guarantee you, I think that 2014 Angels team might have gone to the World Series. They probably most likely would have beat the Royals. And then I'm trying to think who the Royals did they face Houston in the ALCS?
Yes. Because Houston went to how many straight ALCS?
They 3, I believe.
Well, then I don't know if it was that. Because Houston's been in it since. So let's say 2019. Or no, even farther back. 2017. 2018. 2019. 2020.
Wait,
2021.
Okay. So, had the Angels would have won, they would have faced the 96 and 66 Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, yeah.
In the 2014 ALCS.
I forgot about them.
It might have been 2 black and orange teams in the World Series, or it might have been 2 California teams in the World Series. They were just that good.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot about the Orioles ever being good in the 2010s. That feels like a distant memory.
Remember 2013 though? The Detroit Tigers were 93 and 69 in the ALDS, and they ended up facing the Oakland Athletics, who were 96 and 66 back in.
Yeah.
Which is because they had Eric Sogard, Jed Lowry, Josh Donaldson. They had Coco Crisp, Josh Reddick, Seth Smith, Brandon Moss, Derek Norris, and the GOAT, Yoenis Cespedes.
Oh, I forgot about Cespedes. He was deadly.
They had Pat Nashak, Sean Doolittle, Tommy Malone, and Bartolo Colon. This is just crazy to look at because thinking of the year the World Series was 2012 World Series. Tigers were 88 and 74, and they lost to the Giants in the World Series. Would the Yankees have beaten the Tigers in that ALCS with no Miguel Cabrera? Because he would have been in Anaheim.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, that's just this week's thought of the week.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the next one. Teams in the if you're down teams in the playoffs to that were good teams, what if they would have ended up? What if the course would have flopped? Like, what if the Oakland A's would have beat the Detroit Tigers, and then the A's just go on a run in the playoffs and beat Boston, and they win the 2013 World Series against the Cardinals?
No, that is a good question. That is a good question.
Or the 96 and 66 Baltimore Orioles in 2014. I would have loved to see that.
That would be great for them. I
Yeah.
would love that for Baltimore.
So, just a thought for next week.
It is a thought for the thought of the week. With that, folks, let's move along. Let's close out this show with our album review this week. This week, we're talking about the third album from Mexican Sisters, The Warning, Air, released June 24th, 2022. Now on nearly its 1 year anniversary, Junior gives its thoughts. So, you guys know the saying? Say it with me. Dale, the floor is yours.
You want honesty? I didn't listen to it. I've been way too busy to listen to it. So that's my bad. I apologize. It's probably a good album.
Very good album, folks. You could at least say, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. You want me to be honest? I didn't listen to it.
Okay, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm going to be honest. I didn't listen to it.
Too late. That would have been funny, though. All right. Well, I'll tell you, Dale. It is a very good album. I'm going to try what I did last week again. Hopefully this time I don't have multiple... Well, nope. I do have multiple tracks with the same exact rating. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing we can go like this because I know I'm missing a 12 of 14. So, boom. There we go. All right. The first track, it's called Intro 404. It's an instrumental type. It doesn't count. If we're not talking somebody that just plays guitar, that's their album. No. We're talking an actual band. I'm not going to call it an instrumental unless I can tie it in with another song. Like if we were talking Van Halen 1, Eruption, You Really Got Me. That's one song. You rank it as one song. That doesn't really work here. This is kind of a... you'd have to listen to it to get it. It doesn't lead into the next song, Disciple, which is my favorite song. It's a good, nice, hard, energetic, kicking track. Perfect opening track. Gets you right into it. Then you follow it up with Choke. That's my ninth. It's a different vibe than the opening track, but it's a good change of pace. It shows a versatility. I knew right here, I was like, all right, this album is great. I listened to it for my top 11 rock albums. If you guys haven't watched that video, go watch it. It's on the channel. Came out Tuesday. I knew right here this album is about to threaten to get into the top 11. I was listening to it as kind of a throwaway track. I was like, maybe we can review it on Junior and Junior someday. Who knows? Throwaway track, whatever. But this album, like everything, a lot of what I've said, nice kick, hard rocking, vocals work well, straight up kick-ass track, good track, nothing too special, but still, very good track. And then this one. All right, we're at track 8. It was my number 4. I'm just kind of going through this fast a little bit here. It's the title track, Air. And this is what I said. It's truly an air how complete this album is. Because track 8 is another great track. It's just like the only one that I really had anything like too bad to say about. Like, okay, so the final two, 13, 14 in the track list. Martirio would be much higher, but it's in Spanish. That language barrier compared to the other songs, it takes away from it. I'm not fluent in Spanish, so I don't know what's going on, but it's a very good track otherwise. Breathe, the bonus track, it's very good. Easily my least favorite song, but it's good for a bonus track. It's an amazing album. It's very heavy metal Queens vibes. It's a kick-ass album. Track 1 to track 14, it's got hard rock metal, it's got alternative rock, it's got kind of a softer rock style. Everything that you think, it's right there in all the right places. An album's good when you don't want to drop a song, but you have to because the next song was better. And that's what Air is. It's an amazing album. It's a high 10, a low 9. I give it, a high 8, a low 9, a high 10. High 10 with me, it's perfect. No, it's a high 8, a low 9. I give it a high 8. That's where I put it, at an 8. But it's a kick-ass album. I suggest it to anybody. If you like rock music, if you like alternative rock, metal, it's a nice album. I highly suggest it. And then next week, we'll be talking something. Or maybe we won't. No, you never know. But what I do know